Well, what is going on, kids? It is Dr. Robin LeBeau, and I'm coming at you once again from the X-Lair to provide you my deep and insightful reaction to a pretty fucking big surprise I got today. Something I was not expecting. I'd heard this movie Malignant was coming out. Saw posters for it. I saw something on Twitter, and they were like, it's the new Hereditary. It's the new Hereditary. It's coming for you. Hereditary 2 is coming for you. I don't know, something along those lines. I didn't really pay attention to it, but that sort of turned me off to it because, you know, when a movie is trying to capitalize on something another movie did, it's not likely to do it very well. So I'm like, okay, whatever. There's a movie coming, whatever. I saw a poster maybe at a bus stop a few days ago, and I was like, there's some creaking going on. It's getting spooky up in the X-Lair. I'm keeping it all. I'm keeping it spooky for you. I'm keeping it spooky for you by having actual spooky things happening. So I saw a poster on a bus stop, and I was like, all right, we got a little bit of. I'm hearing some more creaking. I'm hearing some more creaking. Ha! This is a jump scare moment. Is that what that is? Anyway, saw a poster. I was like, all right, it looks a little bit creepy. You know, maybe it's worth checking out. You know, maybe there's something I might want to see. Maybe not, because you know, horror's hit and miss. Now, I did not know this was a James Wan movie. I'll be honest with you. I did not fucking know that shit. I knew James Wan was making a new horror movie. I didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't know when it was going to come out. So I was like, all right, well, you know, I'm sure it'll be good because fucking James Wan, right? Conjuring 2, knocked it out of the park. But of course, for me, it all started with the first Saw. The rest of the Saw movies can go fuck themselves. I don't give a fuck. Spiral, up your ass, whatever. But the first Saw is some kick-ass fucking shit. And that is some, like, ground floor James Wan fucking incredible fucking filmmaking. Just storytelling, everything about it, fantastic. Those Conjuring movies, I would not give a fuck about the Conjuring movies if James Wan had not directed the first two. I didn't watch any of the other spin-offs. I did watch the third one, though, because I heard good things about it, and I did wind up enjoying it. So, you know, cool. But, I mean, James fucking Wan. Of course, James Wan then leaves horror. He does a Fast and the Furious film. Unfortunately, it's the one where Paul Walker dies. Has a really tough time finishing that movie. Does it. Movie comes out fine. You know, I liked it. Cool, whatever. Then, James Wan goes on and directs Aquaman. This is in the middle of DC movies kind of being shit. It's uncertain what's going to happen next. Like, things aren't working out the way they wanted to. But James Wan takes Aquaman and he makes it into something fucking James Wan. Now, there was a little bit of sort of, I can assume some nudging on the sides of the big money people, like these are certain things that need to happen. That probably stopped that movie from being the best possible version of that movie it could be. But overall, fucking a visual feast. Probably one of maybe my favorite of the DCEU films, you know? So, you know, he's doing a good job out there. And it's like, all right, well, is James Wan going to make horror again? Like, that was the question a lot of people had. And the answer was unclear. And then we hear, okay, well, he's making a movie. Like, I heard that. I didn't hear any more than that. I heard it at some point. I was like, great. Like, more James Wan horror? Fuck yeah. All right, cool. This morning, I forget what it was, but somehow I was, or maybe yesterday, somehow, I think it was via Twitter, like, I was somehow informed that this Malignant movie was a James Wan movie, and I was like, okay, wait, hold your horses there. Hold on a minute there. There's a new James Wan movie coming out. That's a horror movie. Tomorrow? I mean, that was exciting in and of itself. And I have HBO Max. I could have gone to the theater, but I checked this morning, Rotten Tomatoes, and like there were only like 30 some odd reviews. And so I was like, I don't know. It was like at 70 something percent. No audience review yet. It was strange that there were no reviews like prior, like there were no advanced screenings, I'm assuming. There was an embargo for the critics probably up until the release. And that, to me, is surprising, but that's sort of what it seems has been the case. Anyway, I don't really know. I haven't looked deep into exactly what the fuck was going on there. But I wake up and I'm just like, okay, well, I'm not too excited. I am kind of excited, but I'm not as excited. Even though it's James Wan, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm going to watch a James Wan horror movie. Straight the fuck up. Like, if James Wan makes a horror movie, I'm watching it. Done. He made Insidious, right? I believe he made Insidious. I believe he made Insidious Part 2 as well. I enjoyed those. I wouldn't have watched those movies had they not been James Wan movies. Straight the fuck up. So, I go on Twitter this morning. I see one of my favorite reviewers from Collider. Her name is Haley Fouch. She does The Witching Hour with Perry Nemerov. A podcast. There's some video portions on YouTube sometimes. And she tweets like the most excited fucking tweet about this movie. And that is what I was looking for. You know, that is what I needed to really kind of spark me in the, okay, I'm watching this shit. And the minute I saw that, I was like, I'm watching that shit tonight. Because if she's this excited about it, and she did not tell me what it was about, I did not see any trailers. I saw a synopsis earlier, but it didn't really cover it. And then I saw another synopsis later, and it still didn't cover it, fortunately. So my suggestion to you, if you have not seen this movie, and you probably have because you're watching a spoiler review, don't know anything about it. Just do not know a thing about it. And get your ass maybe to a movie theater if you feel safe and the conditions are safe and you're vaccinated, etc. Or it's on HBO fucking Max and watch it there. I would have watched it in the theater, and to be honest, I still might. I still might go watch it in the theater because this may deserve a theater viewing. It is that good, ladies and gentlemen. This movie is that fucking good. I have been waiting for something like this for a very long fucking time. In fact, so much so that I fucking wrote a movie like this. I wrote it last year. I started on lockdown. I ended in October. I've written a great fucking horror movie. It is fantastic. And it is a franchise starter for a fucking slasher type film, which is what this is. This exact thing is what I wrote because I wanted this in my life because it's been so long since we've had this, you know? Like Scream, great, love Scream. And then it just became kind of torture porn for a long time. And then it became like creepy, fucking stupid paranormal shit, which I don't give a fuck about because whatever. Fuck you, paranormal crap. I don't care. And so I feel like we've been missing the sort of inception of like a classic killer, like a classic slasher that we can all get behind and be like, all right, this motherfucker's a threat. And I want to see more of movies with this motherfucker. And then I want to see a whole series of films with this motherfucker. All very creative, all very well directed and well acted and well written. Very creative in the execution. Like, I want to see that, you know? And I've been missing that. You know, Nightmare on Elm Street films, the Hellraiser films, a couple of them. Just kind of that fantasy horror element. There's like, it's missing, you know? It's been missing. And so I wrote one, and I think it's fucking great. And I know that if it was made, people would love it, period. I have no doubt about it. I have zero doubt about the fact that I wrote a fucking exceptional film that starts a series of films that could go on for a very long time. I personally just want to tell 3 stories. I've got a couple more ideas brewing to complete a trilogy, and I will ultimately do that. But, you know, I did the thing that I wanted to see because nobody was giving it to me, and this movie gave it to me. Now, let's talk about this. Malignant, man. All right, I'm going to get into spoilers here, so if you haven't seen the movie, turn this shit off. If you have seen the movie, continue following along. This is, by the way, the Freddy glove replica from Sideshow from Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors. I bought this to commemorate the completion of my screenplay, Sell Your Soul, last October. I've been writing a second screenplay since then. It is not horror. It is not a horror film, but there are horror elements in it, I think. But don't most films have horror elements? But I did write a great horror film. This glove was meant to commemorate it, and I thought I would wear it here today to commemorate I just finished watching this great fucking new horror film that I watched, Malignant, by James Wan. Well, folks, wow. So the movie starts on that one shot off the road of the hospital, and it's so beautifully lit, and there's like mist, and there's like green lights, and it's just gorgeous. And immediately it's telling you like gothic horror-ish. Like, we're going to have a flavor to this movie. There's going to be a footprint of style. Immediately right off the bat, you get it. And then we got this great opening sequence, and it's unclear what's going on. You sort of, like, at some point, I sort of started to I kind of figured, Malignant, we got to cut the cancer out of her. Like, I assumed that it was something connected to her body, but I assumed that it had actually been cut out of her body, right? That is what you assume. And then the way it's presented as it starts to sort of unfold is that this motherfucker is separate from her, and that he's somewhere else, and that he's doing these things, and she's connected to it, but you don't really see that he's inside of her head. And that she's just backwards when he's in. By the way, he looks so fucking cool. James Wan, man. James Wan is a horror fan, man. He wants to see exactly what he showed us. And I think he did a great job creating this character, this killer, this terrible motherfucker. By the way, his name is Gabriel. I'm Gabriel. So that, that's kind of a special sort of connection as well. Like, we got a couple of Gabriel connections there. But he looked fucking awesome. That coat. The way he looked backwards. Anyway. So the movie's starting out. I don't really know I got the opening sequence. And then we jump into the present. And there's like the whole thing with the woman and what you assume is her husband. And, she's pregnant. And like, obviously this is not going to go well, clearly. Because, a pregnant woman in a horror movie, not going to go well. Especially like a creepy kind of thing. I didn't know what the nature of this movie was. So I assumed, at some point there was a devil mentioned, and there was, I think I saw on Twitter, somebody got a promotional item that included like a shirt or something that had like a pentagram and like Gabriel. So I was like, okay, so Gabriel's like a demon or the devil or some shit. Whatever. I knew that Gabriel was like this like entity or something that's like the killer in this movie, I guess. I didn't know exactly, but like he was the antagonist, right? And I assumed it was going to be supernatural, right? And then of course we get that moment where that woman that's been tied up, and you don't know where she's tied up. You're thinking it's in those subterranean tunnels. She falls through the roof of our main character's home, and it's like, holy shit. And that drop is fucking steep. That was a crazy moment. That was such a great moment. There were some really great moments in this movie. Like really great sort of surprise, like, oh my God. Like, what the fuck? Moments. Like, that was really cool. So the beginning feels like a Conjuring sort of like Insidious type of situation, right? Like creepy home, like lots of mist everywhere. It's like dark, like it appears as though there's like an entity, because the way it's being presented to us, it seems as though there's some sort of entity that our main character was fighting. Madeline was her name, but then it was something else, Millie or Hillary. So we're thinking it's like a, paranormal sort of thing, right? A great fucking misdirects, all great misdirects all around. So that progresses. We get the first kill of her husband, and then all of a sudden we start getting, well, first of all, before we even get to the point of like she starts getting the visions of people dying, we get that fucking excellent sequence in the house where it's like, I think the night after her husband's been killed, she's back in the house, and then this entity is like showing up, right? So you see that the black sort of shadow in the lawn in front of the door, and you're thinking, holy shit, this entity thing is coming for her, right? Clearly, this is all in her head. And then we get that first sort of moment of the entity ultimately, like, it's seemingly like kind of going into the house after her, but clearly this is all in her head. And so we have sort of that moment of her kind of being chased in the house. And then we get this beautiful fucking overhead shot of the house as she's walking through it. Oh my God, that is such masterful fucking execution of like this crazy fucking shot. The way the whole fucking film was shot was fucking beautiful. Like, just beautiful. I mean, James Wan is a master. Like, he's an auteur. The motherfucker knows what he's doing. And at this point, he's already done Aquaman. He's gonna do Aquaman 2. So they're like, here's the money. Fucking do what you want to do. Do it at the level you want to do it. And they gave him all the money. And he's like, I want to do this fucking crazy overhead shot of her kind of trying to secure herself within the house. Beautiful. That sort of thing, you know. You could have easily done something simple that was like unimportant. But instead they did something that was like, it just elevates the moments, right? So you get all that stuff going on. And then the first act break is when she tells her sister that she's been adopted, right? So that's sort of the moment where it's like, wait a minute, what? But then again, you're also sort of like, well, this is I guess this is significant, but is this significant? Like, I sort of get that how does this relate to what's been going on is basically like what you ask yourself, right? It's like, I guess it's an interesting turn, but like, is it given like what we've known? I mean, ultimately at the end of the movie, you're like, okay, that's important. Like, that's really important. But at that moment, I realized, okay, this is the first act break. Where you know, this is like the turn, right? But it's like, I didn't feel like it was that big of a turn. And I think that's part of sort of the cleverness of the film, where it's like, it's always kind of keeping you at a level of comfort so that you don't really know what's going to happen next. Because clearly we have a series of circumstances that are very sort of atypical. And so because they're atypical, like, clearly, like, you don't know where this is going to go. And so he does a very good job of sort of getting you comfortable in this path so that then he can completely turn the tables on you, right? Which is what ultimately happened, right? So we get this great sort of second act where, like, we start getting like she starts getting the visions of like these people getting killed that ultimately highlight the fact that the person that is ultimately going to be in the situation that I'm sorry, I'm getting weird noises coming from the house, and I'm just like, woo, is it spooky? Or it's not spooky, it's just like random shit that's happening. So we start to establish sort of the idea that they're separate, right? That the entities are separate, that her and this other entity are separate, and that she is seeing these murders. And by the way, that beautiful first shot of sort of the environment melting around her to the environment of the doctor was fucking dope. And then they kept using that throughout the film. I mean, only James Wan would be able to pull something like that out, because that's a very expensive thing to do, like, to make it look that good. And it's just about transitions, really. You could do something else that's minimal that would get you there. But, you know, he's James Wan. And it's like, he wanted to do this. And they're like, here you go. Here's the money. Go ahead and do it. And it's fucking gorgeous. And it's exactly what I wanted. So it worked perfectly fucking great for that overall effect of elevating these, like, things so that overall everything that's being established is of a quality that is signature to this film, which ultimately then will make this something that will live on beyond this movie. Clearly, this is going to go on. Like, we're going to have more movies. And I like that a lot, because this was really good. It's a great concept. The way it's executed, fantastic. So we get a few really interesting kills. They're done really well. It's pretty brutal. It's horrific. You don't really understand what's going on because you can't really see the killer. It appears as though the killer is physical, but maybe not, because there's mention of the devil or whatnot. So, you know, we have her family who's like kind of trying to investigate shit, as she ultimately gets blamed when the woman falls through the roof. Now, between that point and sort of things being kicked off, we get the introduction of the hot detective who then is... Oh, she sends him to the house where one of the people had died, right? The last person, the last of the 3 doctors that had been in that hospital with them, I guess, maybe trying to cut out Gabriel. And then that's where the detective sees Gabriel and they have their little fight, and then there's the chase. My God, that chase, man. That was fucking... It's like, and again, that's James Wan. Like, any other horror director that's not like top tier fucking A-list director would not be able to get away with getting the funds to execute that fucking chase sequence in the way that it was. It was everything I ever want from a I want that kind of action in my horror movies too, you know, and like we got it. It was fucking phenomenal. And it was exciting. You know, I saw Shang-Chi last week, and I haven't done a review of it. I was thinking of waiting to do it on Blu-ray because I need to watch it again, but maybe I'll watch it again in the theaters. Like, I really want to have it all fresh, and I wasn't able to have it fresh for review. So I'll figure that out later. But I just watched this, so I'm going to continue watching this. But we had some great action sequences in Shang-Chi, and we had some great action sequences here. And maybe James Wan is like bringing in the stuff he learned from like the Fast and the Furious films and shit, you know? Like Aquaman. Like, he had a lot of action in those movies. Like that really great sequence where like Aquaman's being chased across like building tops or something. That was phenomenal. So you know he's got that action like sort of itch that he wants to scratch. So he threw that into this shit. And my God, did it work well. That chase was fantastic. His fight with Gabriel, the detective versus Gabriel, fantastic. Both above ground and below ground. By the way, I fucking love the idea that there are these underground sort of old versions of the city that can then be used as sort of like a creepy fucking setting for this movie's partially. This movie did a really good job of like setting up creepiness and then fucking throwing us for a loop and giving us fucking crazy. Because I love what happened in the third act. But like we had like such great fucking activity sort of with the detective versus the creature, and then the sister, and then Madeline gets taken away after the mother is discovered, right? That's very surprising. After we get that action sequence, we get that very surprising moment, and then she goes to prison, and then we have the sister who's like looking for information, right? So that ultimately gets us to a lot of like the stuff that helps us at the ending, right? But it's fantastic because like as the sister's in the prison, as Madeline's in the prison, and you know shit's not gonna go well, like, cause you know shit's not gonna go well because she's getting fucked with, but also because like at the same time we're finding out that that the information about what actually is going on with this Gabriel guy, and ultimately we find out that they cut most of him out. They finally show him, first of all, and that was some creepy fucking shit. That was some fucking Voldemort, Harry Potter 1 shit, right? But even better, that kind of in the back of her head is where he dwelled. And then they kind of like buried him in her, and then it's revealed that he was broken out when her boyfriend tried to like, well, didn't try, he abused her, and like she hit her head on the wall, and then that like woke him up, and that he's been absorbing fetuses to fucking grow. Craziness. And so then we get all the revelations about him still being inside of her, and then we get the transformation in the cell, which is fucking dope. And then we get that fucking that slaughter sequence, which is fucking crazy, inside the cell, and then inside the prison. Like, I remember something like Jeepers Creepers, the first Jeepers Creepers, if you've seen that. There was a sequence in which, once again, we're in a police station and the creeper is coming after his prey, and he has to tear through a police station. We saw that in Halloween 5 at the end, when Michael Myers is broken out of the prison. We see like police being slaughtered in order to get to him. And then he escapes as a result. And this was the best one of all of those, all of the prison break sequences. Like, slasher villain breaking out of a prison sequence. I think this is the best I've ever seen in my life. Just great. It was just so fucking awesome. Like, him getting out, and then we get the detective come in the two detectives, him and his partner, who was fucking fantastic as well, coming after Gabriel, who's now become Gabriel. I love how he has to go get his code and shit, and like his signature fucking gold dagger that is actually like the thing from fucking like the medical association or whatever. I mean, it was just like a signature slasher look. It's like clearly what James Wan was aiming for, and the writer as well, which I believe is a female. I did not get her name. I should have gotten her name before I started talking. I was just really excited. I wanted to get my ass on the camera talking about Malignant. But I love the look, and then he like becomes Gabriel, and then we have the whole fucking going to the hospital, and I'm like, oh my god, we just had a slaughter at the fucking police station. We have another slaughter at the hospital, and then we get the great sort of moment of him, come in and like, and then like Millie or Mildred, I forget her name, the girl, the main girl, Haley, I forget her name. She's in there, and then the sister, and then the mother, and all this stuff, and like the drama, the family drama, the fucking the battle, the misdirect of the sister getting shot, and you're like, oh my god, they killed the sister. It was so like, like the other sister was like almost about to fucking take charge, and then she doesn't, I guess, and then kills the sister. That's what you think. But clearly that happened in the killer's head, in Gabriel's head, when what's-her-name took over and sort of got the power to kind of rein him in. And then like ultimately he's put into a mental prison, and then she leaves and he's in the mental prison. And then he's like, I'll escape. And she's like, I know, and I'll be ready. Basically saying, yeah, fucking sequels, motherfuckers. And it was just like, I was just like, wow, I did not expect this movie. I did not expect this movie. I did not expect this movie to do what it did. I did not expect it to be as good as it was. I did not expect to enjoy it so much that I wanted to fucking set up my camera and start talking about it. But it was that fucking good. It was that fucking good. I'm really happy with this movie. I'm really happy James Wan made it. I'm really happy James Wan is in the world making movies like this. If I'm ever allowed to make a movie, I would like to make a movie like this as one of the movies that I make. I think this was fantastic. I highly recommend it to anybody that's not seen it, even though if you've seen this whole review, you have seen the movie, because why the fuck are you watching this review if you have not seen the fucking movie? Anyway, I just wanted to get those thoughts down. Really fucking enjoyed Malignant. Thank you, James Wan, for doing a great job. Congratulations to all the crew. Congratulations to HBO Max. Here's another good movie that people are going to come watch at HBO Max, even though it does deserve to be seen in the theaters, and people should go out and watch it in the theater, because I think it deserves a watch in the theater, which is why I think I will go see it in the theater. Anyway, had a great time talking about this. Had a great time watching this movie. Hope everybody's doing well out there, and I'll be back soon with some more bloody delights, huh? As always, I'd like to remind you that if you haven't already, you better put an X in the box, because ain't nobody checking me. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.